Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with the summer meeting of our Water Quality Advisory Work Group meeting that's put on by the Water Quality Division here at the TCEQ. We thank you for coming and being a part of this meeting. And my name is Greg Easley. I manage the Water Quality Assessment section of the Water Quality Division, and I'll be your moderator for today's meeting. Before we get into the meat of the meeting, I want to go through a few housekeeping items just to make sure you understand how we do the meeting and what things to consider as we go through it. For those of you who are watching online, again, thanks for being with us and participating in that way. We do want to remind you, if you haven't already done so, if you could please register your attendance at this meeting by sending an email to our outreach email box, which is outreach@tcq.texas.gov. And in the subject line, if you could put the meeting group acronym WQAWG, put that in the subject line, and then your name and contact information, and our folks will take it from there. So appreciate it if you could do that for us. And as we go through each update that you see on the agenda for today's meeting, we will pause at the end of each one and see if there are any questions about that particular topic, either here in person in the room or online. You can submit your question, that is, via email to that same outreach email address, outreach@tcq.texas.gov, and we'll take your questions as they come. For those here in person in the room, if you do have a question, unfortunately, we're going to have to ask you to come up to this podium here in front of me and use the microphone so that everyone can hear the question, both here in the room and online. So we'd appreciate that. And then, if you think of something later on a particular topic after that presentation has already been given, that's okay too. We'll have a question and answer session at the very end of all the updates that we are going to be giving. And then lastly, just a reminder for those who may not have been able to make it, either in person or online, or if you just want to go back and rehear something that was said during the meeting. We do record these meetings, and we'll put them on our YouTube channel, the TCEQ YouTube channel, for watching after the meeting is concluded. So you can always go back and check content if you need to. So with that said, we're going to go around the front here of the room and introduce the TCEQ presenters real quick before we get into the meeting. So again, my name is Greg Easley, and we'll start over here on this end.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dante Fichetti. I am on the Stormwater team in the Water Quality Division.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alyssa Loveday, and I'm an environmental permit specialist on the industrial wastewater permitting team.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michaela Coleman, and I'm a permit writer on the Stormwater team in the Water Quality Division.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Villalba, and I am the team leader for the Stormwater team.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Benitez, and I'm Water Quality Technical Specialist.
Good afternoon. I'm Abigail Flores with the Customer Information Assistance team.
All right, thank you very much. So with that said, we'll go ahead and jump into our agenda. As you can see, we've got several different types of updates, general permits, rulemaking, et cetera. So we'll just take it one by one here, and I will start off, or we will start off with Alyssa with the program update.
All right, good afternoon again, everyone. My name is Alyssa Loveday, and I'm an environmental permit specialist with the industrial wastewater permitting team. As a refresher, TCEQ was transferred permitting authority for discharges into surface water in the state for gas plants and oil and gas extraction facilities by House Bill 2771 during the 86th legislative session in 2019. TCEQ obtained TIPD's authorization from EPA effective January 15th, 2021 via Verized Memorandum of Agreement. TCEQ did not obtain authority for the disposal of wastewater from oil and gas activities via land application. This authority remains under the Texas Railroad Commission. The general permit for hydrostatic test discharges, TXG 67, was amended and reissued to include crude oil and natural gas hydrostatic test discharges. New crude oil, natural gas pipelines, and vessels are automatically authorized under the general permit, provided it has been read and the terms and conditions are complied with. So there is no requirement for a notice of intent to be submitted. Existing crude oil and natural gas pipelines and vessels that contained crude oil or raw natural gas products can now file an administrative notice of intent, or NOI, electronically and immediately get authorization. As of today, we have 53 issued authorizations under the general permit for hydrostatic test discharges, as well as 11 issued individual oil and gas TIPDs permits, and we have 10 pending individual oil and gas TIPDs permit applications. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alyssa. Any questions on that topic? All right, great. We'll move on to our general permit updates, and I'll kick off the first one related to our concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFO for short. General permit. That permit is going to expire next year, July 20th of 2024. So we are starting on, or have already started with the working on the reissuance of that permit, renewal, of course, foremost, but also making any changes that we see are necessary. We have just recently put the draft of the CAFO general permit out on our Water Quality Advisory Work Group website for public comment. This is what I would call just an informal comment period that will go through the end of the month, July 31st. So you're welcome to review the draft permit. We put it out there in what we call track changes mode, where you can see the proposed changes that we are proposing to make versus what the existing language of the permit says. And there's also a draft of the fact sheet out there as well that might be informative to you regarding the process. So we certainly encourage anyone interested to review those proposed changes and provide us with any comments you may have. This is, again, an informal comment period. We're not going to formally or informally respond to the comments received. We are going to consider them, though, and we could use some of them to make some further changes to the draft permit. But again, it's mostly just a way to get our initial ideas out there for some feedback, and then we will continue to move forward with processing any of those changes, moving them forward in the formal rulemaking process. Our goal, as far as the timeline, again, it will need to be reissued by around the middle of the next year, and that'll take some time to get there. But our intent is to have a draft ready for EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency Region 6 review by around potentially next month or thereabouts. So just to give you a feel for what's next. So again, encourage any comments you may have, and we will certainly consider whatever is sent in to us. The comments, I was just checking my notes to make sure the comments can be sent to that same outreach email box, outreach@tcq.texas.gov, and we can take them from there. And if you have any questions, you certainly can contact myself or one of my staff members, Joy Alabi, who works on the land application team, which contains the CAFO program. Her email address is joy.alabi, ALABI, at tcq.texas.gov. So you can contact either her or myself with any questions But again, comments can be sent to the outreach email box. And I think that's all I have for that particular general permit update. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to the next update with Rebecca. Or Dante, sorry, my bad.
It's okay. Thank you, Greg. So as introduced, my name is Dante Fichetti. The next topic we'll go over is the renewal of the construction general permit. So this is general permit number TXR 150,000. So this general permit regulates stormwater from construction activities, and it was renewed with an renewed and issued with an effective date of March 5th, 2023. The general permit fact sheet, as well as the executive director's response to comment, can all be viewed on our TCQ construction general permit webpage. After the general permit's renewed, there's a 90-day window to renew authorizations. So this renewal period closed on June 5th of 2023. Any authorizations not renewed by this date are now expired. Expired authorizations cannot be changed or terminated. And if you'd like to check on any construction general permit authorization status, it can be reviewed using our TCQ Water Quality General Permit Search Engine. And there should be a link provided on the handout if you'd like to check that out for yourselves. Any operators that failed to renew their authorization and still need permit coverage must now submit a new application with any permits to obtain coverage, and you will be issued a new authorization number. For the 2023 CGP, we have new construction site notice forms, and they now have a specified TCEQ form number. So the large construction site notice for primary operators, this is TCEQ form number 20961. We also have a large construction site notice for secondary operators, and this is TCEQ form number 20962. Additionally, there's a small construction site notice. This is now TCEQ form number 20963. And last but certainly not least, we have the small construction site notice, and this is only applicable for sites that are trying to claim the waiver under the low potential for erosion. And this is TCEQ form number 20964. So one important distinction, and we've gotten a couple questions on this, is as official TCEQ forms, these forms are required to be used and cannot be altered or modified in any way. So please note that the old forms are still available on the website for now. We're working on removing those, and they should be wiped clean free. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that there were official site notices and they are available on the TCQ webpage. We have also received some feedback from customers that the forms were not easily fillable, and we are making updates to allow for that, and that should be coming out shortly in the future. Once complete, the final updated forms will be available on the TCQ Forms webpage, and you can find them by searching for those TCQ form numbers that I mentioned earlier. The Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan template, also known as a SWIP, for the 2023 CGP is also now available, and this is as a regulatory guidance document. So this is RG 639. It is available on the Small Business and Local Government Assistance webpage, and that link is also provided on the handout if you'd like to take a look. We did receive some feedback from customers, and similar to the site notices, the comment was that the template is not easily fillable, so we're working to coordinate with SBLGA to determine if updates can be made for allow that to be made more easily fillable. And that's kind of it for the construction general permit for me. Any questions on that? Nothing online either? Okay. So next is Rebecca with the John Graves general permit.
One item that I want to add to the construction general permit implementation, I want to remind, this sounds too funny, remind everybody that the delegation of signatories are also required to be submitted via STEERS. They're no longer allowed for the large construction sites to be submitted by paper, so they need to be submitted electronically through STEERS for large construction sites. Okay, so I'll move on to the John Graves General Permit, TXG 50,000. We are currently in the 2024 renewal. This permit regulates stormwater and wastewater discharges from quarries that are located in a very specific area in the state of Texas, known as the John Graves Scenic Riverway. That is a portion of the Brazos River that is in Palo Pinto and Parker County. The permit right now expires on March 29th of 2024. So we started the renewal process earlier, and we are currently finalizing drafting that permit. We had internal stakeholder feedback, and also feedback from the public was collected early this year. Some of the proposed changes that we have for this permit include addressing the expiration of the John Graves pilot program that is going to happen in the middle of this permit term. So we're also updating the allowable non-stormwater discharges to be consistent with other stormwater general permits that we have. And we're also increasing the inspection frequency from weekly to daily on discharges from dewatering activities specifically, so that it's consistent with the 2023 construction general permit that we just renewed. As a result of the 88th legislative session, we have a bill that we have to implement called House Bill 1688 that is effective on September 1st of this year. So this bill amends Texas Water Code Chapter 26, Subchapter M, what we call the water quality protection areas. The bill expands the pilot program that we originally established for quarries in the John Graves Scenic Riverway to now also include another area in Texas called the Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway. The Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway is defined as the North Llano River and South Llano River in Kimball County that is located upstream of the river's confluence with the city of Junction. So this is, again, a very specific area. The bill establishes the same requirements for quarries in the Coke-Stevenson Riverway as the ones that the statute requires for the John Graves Scenic Riverway. So it requires Coke-Stevenson quarries, if any are located in there, also required to permit them via either an individual or a general permit, depending on the proximity to the water body. Also, financial responsibility, inspection, sampling, cost recovery, and enforcement programs. So basically, everything that's being done at the John Graves Scenic Riverway area is now going to be required for the Coke-Stevenson. In addition, this bill also extended the pilot program for the John Graves Scenic Riverway by 2 years. So instead of expiring on September 1st of 2025, it will now expire on September 1st, 2027. So because of this bill that was just signed in May, we now need to determine how best to proceed with the general permit to incorporate anything related to that bill. So we're working on the implementation to determine how best to proceed. And that's the update for the John Graves Scenic Riverway permit. That will have to be changed and called maybe the quarries permit and not just specific to the John Graves anymore. Any questions on that?
All right, thanks, Rebecca. Next up's Michaela with an update.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so I have an update today on the small or phase 2 MS4 general permit, the TXR 040,000, specifically the 2024 renewal. This is the general permit that regulates stormwater discharges from our phase 2 or small municipal separate storm sewer systems, or MS4s, which currently is set to expire on January 24th of 2024. We kicked off the renewal process on this general permit in May of 2022 and held a stakeholder meeting in September of 2022. During that stakeholder meeting, TCQ presented some preliminary proposed changes, including moving the permit from a 2-step type permit to a comprehensive permit, which would mean making the master general permit more prescriptive and including all of the requirements that MS4 operators must implement, and therefore removing the need for MS4 operators to submit individual stormwater management programs or SWAMPs for review and approval by TCQ and with the public notice. It also proposed some permit language for the specific best management practices, or BMPs, and measurable goals under some of those minimum control measures, or MCMs, in the permit. In addition, some of the changes proposed have to do with implementation of electronic reporting for applications and annual reports to comply with the federal electronic reporting rule, including revising the annual reporting year options to only allow for one reporting year schedule for all MS4 operators, as opposed to an option between three, as it is currently under the general permit. And this is a change that will be necessary to use EPA's NET MS4 system for this electronic reporting. And the change would be using calendar year, since that's the most common reporting year option used by our permittees currently. In addition, another proposed change was revising the list of minimum control measures to separate MCM1, public education, outreach, and involvement, to match the federal rules, and splitting them into MCMs 1 and 2 as public education and outreach, and then public involvement / participation. To view some of the presentations and handouts we provided during that stakeholder meeting, you can take a look at our Stormwater Stakeholders Group webpage, and there will be a link in the meeting notes that you can refer to for that. We received comments from about 50 different individuals following that stakeholder meeting, and we used those comments to continue improving the initial draft of our general permit. We made a few additional miscellaneous and editorial changes throughout the permit to kind of reduce some redundant information and improve the readability of the permit. And wherever we could consolidate some similar information, we did that as well, just to keep the length down. Once we had a good initial draft, we sent the draft permit and fact sheet to EPA on March 22nd of 2023 for their 90-day review and approval. EPA provided an approval letter for the draft permit on June 9th of 2023. Shortly afterward, on June 12th of 2023, EPA published a final rule, the NIPD's Small MS4 Urbanized Area Clarification Rule, which became effective on July 12th of 2023. This is EPA's rule to replace the term urbanized area in the Phase 2 regulations with the phrase urban areas with a population of at least 50,000. And I'm sure many of our small MS4 stakeholders have been following this closely, but the Census Bureau made the decision when they finalized their 2020 decennial census to do away with that term. So they're no longer using the term urbanized area. And this rulemaking is basically replacing the term urbanized area with a long-standing definition for that term, which is an urban area with a population of 50,000 or more. With this final rule in place, TCEQ has revised our draft of the Phase 2 MS4 general permit to encompass the new terminology. So now the general permit should refer to urban areas with a population of at least 50,000 or more in the 2020 decennial census. This would mean that the number of newly regulated small MS4 operators required to seek coverage under the general permit is expected to increase. At this time, we can't provide an exact estimate of the number of MS4s that would be newly regulated. EPA is preparing the necessary data for every state to determine the exact new universe of regulated small MS4s. Following the 2010 decennial census, Texas gained about 200 new small MS4s, so we anticipate the number will be similar based on the 2020 census. EPA's final rule is available on their website, and in the meeting notes we'll provide a link to review that rule if you're interested. EPA has also provided an interactive map of all of the 2020 urban areas, and I want to stress that this includes all urban areas regardless of their population, but they've also provided a table of those urban areas with their population. So you can kind of cross-reference which urban areas have that 50,000 population threshold with the map to get an idea of which of those urban areas are within Texas. We anticipate publishing our draft permit for public comment in mid to late August, so coming up here very soon. Once we have that published, the notice, the proposed permit and fact sheet will be made available on the TCQ Phase 2 MS4 webpage. And again, we'll provide that link in the meeting notes so that you can have it handy. And with that publication date, we anticipate still moving forward to adopt this permit on time, going to the commissioner's agenda in January of 2024 to issue the general permit by January 24th of 2024. Any questions on that? Okay. Oh, I apologize, I left this out. On the last day of the comment period, once we publish the general permit, we will hold a public meeting in the agenda room, and that information will be included in the public notice for the general permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. Any questions for her topic? All right, well, we will kick it back to Rebecca for a couple more general permit updates.
Okay. So the first one is regarding the livestock manure compost general permit, WQG 200,000. This permit authorizes the disposal of wastewater generated from livestock manure compost operations by evaporation or beneficial use by irrigation. TCQ is currently in the renewal of this general permit and amending it as well. The permit expires on November 10th of this year. The public notice was published in the Houston Chronicle on March 31st of this year and in the Texas Register on April 7th. The public comment period closed on June 8th, and we did not receive any public comments. Therefore, we're moving forward to the adoption stage of this general permit. It was currently scheduled to go to Commissioner's agenda for adoption on September 6th of this year. So if you want to go about 2 weeks before to our Commissioner's webpage, you can get a link of all the documents for that general permit and also the ability to attend the meeting, information on how to attend that meeting. The next update is regarding the petroleum contaminated waste general permit, TXG 830000. This general permit authorizes stormwater discharges of water contaminated by petroleum substances into or adjacent to any water in the state. We are currently also renewing and amending this general permit. We are in that process. The current permit expires in less than 2 months on September 12th of this year. EPA approved the draft permit on December 15th of last year. We went to public notice and we published in the Houston Chronicle on March 31st and the Texas Register on April 7th. The comment period also closed on June 8th and no public comments were received. Similar to the livestock manure compost general permit, we are also scheduled to take the petroleum contaminated waste general permit to Commissioner's agenda for adoption on August 16th. Any questions on that? Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca. And last two general permit updates regarding oil and gas general permits. Alyssa will give those.
All right, so TCQ has developed and drafted 2 general permits for oil and gas extraction facilities discharges into surface water of the state. This includes TXG 310,000 under the Texas Pollutant Discharge Elimination System program, as well as WQG 280,000 under state-only authority. TXG 310,000 replaces EPA's general permits TXG 260,000 and TXG 330,000, as well as individual Railroad Commission authorizations. WQG 280,000 will replace individual Railroad Commission permit authorizations. The TXG 310,000 general permit for onshore stripper well facilities, coastal facilities, and territorial sea facilities in the Gulf of Mexico within 3 miles of the Texas coastline. Again, combines and replaces EP 22, in which TCEQ received no objections and only minor suggestions. EPA then approved TCEQ for issuance of the general permit. Statewide public notice in the Texas Register and statewide circulation in newspapers occurred in May 2023, with the formal 30-day public comment period ending on June 12, 2023. Only one comment was received and is currently being addressed. Anticipated commission adoption of the general permit is expected in November of 2023, and development of the notice of intent, notice of change, and notice of termination forms have all been completed. Does anyone have any questions on the TXG 310,000 general permit? Okay, with that, I'll move on to the WQG 280,000 general permit for the Outer Continental Shelf facilities in the Gulf of Mexico. This TCEQ state-only general permit will propose to authorize discharges to surface waters in the Gulf of Mexico and only covers between 3 to 10.2 statute miles of the Texas coastline. We would like to emphasize that the WQG 280,000 general permit only covers between 3 and 10.2 statute miles from the Texas coastline. Beyond 10.2 miles, Texas does not have regulatory authority, and authorization is only required by EPA. In the 3 to 10.2 statute mile jurisdiction, separate authorization is continued to be required from EPA under the GMG 290,000 general permit. The general permit has been drafted and developed in coordination with EPA Region 6's renewal of their equivalent general permit, GMG 29000. WQG 280,000 was released for stakeholder input in December 2022 via the Water Quality Advisory Workgroup. The public notice was in May 2023, and the formal 30-day public comment period ended in June 2023. 2 public comments were received and are being addressed. And the general permit is planning to go before the Commission for consideration of issuance in November 2023.
All right, any questions for Alyssa? All right, thank you. Next up, we have several rule updates to provide to you, and we'll start off with Maria.
Good afternoon again. I'm filling in for Lewis Heron regarding the 30 TAC Chapter 217 wastewater treatment systems design criteria. The stakeholder group last met on June 5th and since have continued to work on the chapter updates. And if you have any questions regarding the Chapter 217 design criteria, please feel free to send your questions to the outreach inbox and make sure to include the subject line to read Chapter 217. Are there any questions right now for that?
Okay, thank you, Maria. And a couple more with Rebecca.
Okay, I will give you a real quick short update. You know, as you know, we had the 88th legislative session. There were a lot of bills that were introduced. Some made it and some didn't make it. Well, there are some that were signed and it affects our water quality division, the permits or programs that we implement. So right now we're in the implementation stage. We're looking at what the bill requires, what we need to do, discussing internally as an agency where we have to coordinate with other departments or programs. So right now we don't have a really set timeline of how we're moving forward, but the next 3 rules are the ones that we are going to have to amend as a result of bills that were signed this session. So the first one is 30 TAC Chapter 321, which is permits by rule, as well as Chapter 210, reclaimed water. TCEQ is proposing to amend the existing rules to implement Senate Bill 1289. The amendments of the rules is required to authorize the disposal of treated wastewater without a permit for an alternative means of disposal if the facility disposes of the treated wastewater through a wastewater collection system via a contract. So that's what that Senate bill is doing, and we will have to revise those rules to implement it. The next rulemaking that we have to do is for 30 TAC Chapter 321, specifically for Subchapter B, related to the confined animal feeding operations. TCQ is proposing to amend this rule to implement House Bill 0692. The amendment of the rules is required to provide authorization to a CAFO to dispose of dairy waste in controlled facilities and to land apply dairy waste by irrigation. The last rulemaking that we have to work on that we know of so far is regarding 30 TAC Chapter 311, Subchapter H, specifically titled Regulation of Quarries in the John Graves Scenic Riverway. This is the one that I mentioned earlier during the John Graves general permit update. We have to do an amendment to the existing rules as a result of House Bill 1688, where we have to extend the pilot program for 2 years, as well as to bring in the Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway into the watershed protection rules. On this specific rule, that's under my team. We are going to do our best to do a fast track rulemaking on that one. So stay tuned for updates on the timeline as we work through the implementation process. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. And that is the end of the updates we wanted to provide to you today. So now we've arrived at our final question and answer session. If you have anything you thought of while we were giving you these updates or anything else you would like to ask, now's the time to ask. Again, if you're here in the room, if you come up to the podium to ask your question so that everyone could hear it, both here and those online, or if you're online, if you could send your questions in to our outreach email box, outreach@tcq.texas.gov. Any questions? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, I will move on to just a few announcements to give to you. First one being our next quarterly meeting in October. We currently have it scheduled for October 24th, 2023 at 1:30 p.m. here in the same room. There's a possibility that might get slightly rescheduled or shifted to try and accommodate other stakeholder groups of the agency, for example, like the Drinking Water Program, to try to align our date and time with theirs, so it can kind of be a little more convenient for folks who might be interested in more than one of these groups to not have to make multiple trips or at least spaced apart trips. So if we do make a change to the October 24th date, we'll certainly make an announcement and let you know. But for now, October 24th is what's on the calendar. The other announcement I wanted to give was about the upcoming 20th annual, what we call the CMOM workshop. Stands for Capacity Management, Operation, and Maintenance. This is a workshop that's put on by EPA, TCQ, Austin Water, and the Water Environment Association of Texas. Again, this is the 20th iteration of that workshop, and we definitely want to get the word out to those. It's not October. It's August 7th and 8th, which is a Monday and Tuesday. So it's coming up pretty soon in a couple of weeks. Registration is still open. I encourage you to attend yourself and get the word out to your colleagues, coworkers, friends, neighbors, anyone else you think might be interested in attending. This essentially a workshop this year is focused on municipal collection systems, sewer collection systems. There'll be a whole lot of speakers and presentations that will occur over the course of those 2 days, August 7th and 8th. A lot of good speakers, a lot of good information, focused on a very varied array of topics related to collection systems and best practices. Again, registration's available. I believe, I don't think we do have flyers, I think, out in the other room there. If you didn't already see them, be sure to grab one. Of course, there's a website there that can be utilized for more information and for registration purposes as well. And I think that's all I wanted. Oh, didn't give the location. It's at the Austin Convention Center. So here in town, again, August 7th and 8th. Next announcement, I'm going to turn it over to Maria to give.
The EPA Region 6 Wastewater System Emergency Response Plan Workshop will also be held on August 23rd and August 24th. It will be a free virtual workshop via Zoom. And this virtual workshop is to assist wastewater systems in Region 6, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Texas, with updating or developing an emergency response plan. It will be held, again, over those 2 sessions on those 2 separate days, and the goal is really to provide wastewater system representatives with a broad overview of strategies, resources, plans, and procedures to prepare for and respond to an all-hazard event or incident. Who should attend? Representatives from wastewater systems of all sizes, vendors and consultants, especially those who are assisting in wastewater systems and in developing or updating their ERPs, and then other decision makers involved in developing or implementing ERPs. And again, this is going to be held virtually via Zoom. The flyers are also available at the sign-in area, and just make sure to sign up as soon as possible. Thank you. Oh, sorry, and one more announcement. We also have the Water Quality Stormwater Seminar this year as well. We're still working on the agenda for that, and so that should be released soon. It will take place October 19th at the Austin Pickle Research Center. Right. Sorry, at the JJ Pickle Research Center. Apologies. Rebecca, would you like to add anything else to that?
We're going back to having this water quality stormwater seminar just ourselves. If you recall, prior to the pandemic, we were trying to combine it with the air program seminar that they have. So we were calling it the Autumn Conference and Expo or something like that. And so now we're splitting up again. So air is doing their own thing, and then water quality, stormwater is doing its own thing. So that's why we're not going to be anymore at the Palmer Event Center. It'll be at the JJ Pickle Center. So we welcome everybody. It's just a one-day, event, but we definitely want you to attend, where we're going to be giving you focused presentations on whatever is great and happening at that time in October.
All right, sounds good. Thank you all. Okay, well, that's all we have for you today. We appreciate you coming out and attending the meeting. Those here in person and online, I really appreciate your involvement, and hopefully you'll continue to do so in the future. And we will see you again in October, and hope everyone has a good rest of your afternoon. Thank you.